Hi, this is Martin, and today what I'd like to do is take excerpts from a book that was published about 4 years ago. It was written by Dr. Mark Hyman, Hyman. He was a medical doctor. The book is entitled The Food Fix, and the subtitle is How to Save Our Health, Our Economy, Our Communities, and Our Planet, One Bite at a Time. What I'd like to do is read some of the excerpts that kind of point out what is basically gone wrong. In other words, the government should be helping us to get a good outline of food and good nutrition, and in so many instances, it's being used by the agricultural establishment to do things other than that, or by certain companies that have lobbying interests and can control what's actually being determined. One of the excerpts is that the sad thing is that in America, only 2% of our farmland is used to grow fruits and vegetables, despite our government's recommendations that 50% of our diet should be fruits and vegetables. 59% of our farmland is used to grow commodity crops, 3 of them specifically corn, wheat, and soy, that get turned into ultra-processed foods that we know are deadly. These processed foods make up about 60% of our diet. Most of our government's policies promote the growing, production, marketing, sale, and consumption of the worst diet on the planet. Billions in subsidies, known as crop insurance or other supports for commodity crops turned into processed food and food for factory-farmed animals. $75 billion a year in food stamp payments that effectively reduce hunger but are mostly for processed food and soda. Unregulated food marketing of soda and junk food. Confusing food labels. Boy, do we all know about that. Industry-influenced dietary guidelines, and more. Its very policies also support agricultural practices that pollute the environment and worsen climate change. First, it's a whole program, but first, the GMO seeds are sold to farmers by big agricultural seed monopolies. 4 big companies, Bayer, which recently purchased Monsanto, now this dates into the late teens of 2000, ChemChina and its subsidiary Syngenta, Corteva and BASF, formed by giant mergers over the last 10 years, control most of the seeds in the world, including 60% of the vegetable seeds. These companies burden farmers with less choice and higher prices, making them dependent on their seeds and their chemicals. These companies produce the seeds but also the pesticides and herbicides that are used on the crops. The consolidation and centralization of seed production means that we have less food, biodiversity, and resiliency, which threatens our food security. It also means the loss of autonomy to save and collect seeds for farmers, especially for the 2.5 billion small farm holders across the globe. They have to buy their seeds only from the seed monopolies. Only 1% of corn grown in America is sweet corn actually consumed by humans. The rest is what's known as dense corn, DENT, used for food oils, animal feed, ethanol, high fructose corn syrup, biodegradable plastic, alcohol, food starch, well, it goes on and on. Another problem is with the soda industry, and that as taxpayers, we pay for 31 billion servings of soda to the poor through SNAP. SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Programs, or food stamps. That is $7 billion a year, the biggest line item in SNAP, which accounts for almost 10% of the food, and that's in quotes, food purchased by SNAP recipients. What has happened is that they've taken a lot of the personal choice out of what we can and cannot buy. The food we have available to eat, ultra-processed food, and the food we don't eat, fruits and vegetables, and whole foods, are determined by the food system itself. What we grow and produce and how we market and distribute it, and what we don't. This is Dr. Hyman saying, when he graduated medical school, there was not a single state with an obesity rate over 20%. Now there is not a single state with an obesity rate under 20%. And within the last few years, we have seen many states surpass an adult obesity rate of 40%, and most others are closing in on that number. Dr. Hyman again, traveling to countries where political barriers have kept out big food underscores the difference. He recently traveled to Cuba, where there are no chains and few big food brands, the result of the American trade embargo. Almost no one was overweight. Cuba's life expectancy is greater than that of the United States, while spending only 1% of what the United States spends on health care. Even when we are trying to do good things, the government has a way of messing up here. The unintended consequences of free trade in Mexico through the NAFTA program allowed the American food industry to quickly expand there as purveyors of soda and fast food. Now water costs 3 times as much as Coke in Mexico. In the United States, 1 in 10 American adults have type 2 diabetes. In Mexico, 1 in 10 children have it. We used to call it adult onset diabetes because it never existed in children until very recently. So those are a few excerpts that kind of give the idea of what Dr. Hyman is talking about, but also the problems that we do have and even grow more so. So I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it's a little bit different subject, but thought it was very interesting. So until the next time, farewell.